Welcome to the Clinics on Video, filmed live before standing room only audiences at the National Model Railroad Association Convention. You are about to see how easy and fun it is to create remarkably realistic scenery by using a system of products. These products, developed by Woodland Scenics, are available at your local hobby, craft, or variety store. More information about them is at the end of this video. In these sessions, you will see the instructors build a small diorama called the Scenery Kit. Information on getting this exceptional learning tool is at the end of this video. So sit back and enjoy while our instructors show you just how easy it is to model terrain and landscape. You can do it the Woodland Scenics way.
I'd like to welcome you to the Woodland Scenics Terrain Clinic. I'm Fran Hale.
And I'm Miles Hale.
We both work at Woodland Scenics, and we're here today to show you some techniques of working with the Woodland Scenics terrain system, using the various products in the terrain system. So we're going to get started this morning on some terrain system products. Okay, what Woodland Scenics has come up with is the Scenery Kit, and Miles is going to hold up a box over here. Okay. This is what the Scenery Kit comes in a box like this, and it's a selection of Woodland Scenics products that is a learning tool for you to learn how to do scenery modeling. And it makes into a 10 by 18 inch diorama like we've got here. This is a completed diorama that it makes into. Now it's got a complete instruction book. It's got a complete 16-page instruction book in the kit that shows you just exactly what you need to do to create the contours and do the landscaping and the terrain work to create this diorama. Now this is pretty much what we're going to be working on while we do the clinic today. All right, you want to hold that up a little bit?
Not only a chance for them to kind of learn the scenery products that are available in the kit, gives a not wide representation of the Woodland Scenics products, also gives you a place when you're done that you can display your favorite boxcar, rolling stock, engine, whatever.
Okay, the first thing we're going to start with are the hardboard sides. Now in the kit, the hardboard sides come in the kit. They're already pre-cut for you, and the instructions will tell you to put these together with white glue. Now we're going to cheat a little bit here this morning because we don't really have time for glue to dry, so we have some Velcro on the pieces, and we're going to put them together with the Velcro.
Yeah, I've kind of cheated and I put some extra blocks on here because of the Velcro, but I want to show you the way that we recommend that you do this. Take another piece of the Scenery Kit or whatever, put it on here. This is cut nice and square, so you can put this piece up against it. And then I can take one of my blocks, run it up here and glue it on, and it'll be flush with this bottom edge down here, and it'll go on square. So it gives me a nice beginning, and I can put all of my blocks on my two end pieces that I need. Now again, I've used more blocks than what you will, but I'm trying to do it with a little Velcro. Then after you have those on, you just simply stick the two side pieces on the back, add the front, and they give you a pre-cut piece of a little thicker board here for the track board. And you put that on, and it makes into a nice structure. It actually makes into a little module so that you get the idea that if you had a module railroad that you were working with, or if you had L girder or whatever your bench work was, this is kind of the beginning that you'd start from what your layout would look like when you were starting to do your contours.
We've got one that we've got pre-put together down here that's been glued together already, and we're going to bring that up and we're going to use that here today as we work on the
glue, huh?
Well,
we're in a hurry, right?
Sometimes in shipping, glue falls apart. Just like we did a little earlier, we're going to create some terrain contours, and we're going to do pillow shapes.
Just wad those up. Again, just to kind of get an idea of where the contours are going to go, you can kind of mess with them a little bit, make it kind of fit the way you want it to go.
The pillow shape works kind of nicely because it stacks up well. And all we're using here is just newspaper. This is newsprint without any newspaper on it. It's one of the cheapest, easiest ways to go. Now, there have been a lot of different things that have been done in building terrain contours over the years. There's been a real evolution in building terrain contours. Probably most of you know about the using the wooden contours, the wooden profiles with screen wire. All right, we've got a board up here we'll show you.
Prop for that.
All right. The wooden profiles where you use the screen wire right here. All right.
And this is plaster cloth then applied over it, and this is the paper towels dipped in lightweight Hydrocal, the Woodland Scenics Hydrocal that weighs about half as much as ordinary Hydrocal or molding plaster. This has been to a couple of shows over a couple of years, so when we're finished with the clinic, be sure and come up and give it a tap and see how strong it is. It really makes for a nice base. anything that you're comfortable with, any technique that you're used to using, we've probably got a product that fits your technique and the way that you'd like to work.
Now, a lot of people these days are doing styrofoam contours, styrofoam scenery contours, and we've got a kind of a demonstration board here to show you some of this. Get it up there a little bit. The key to using a lot of the Woodland Scenics products on styrofoam is just roughing up the styrofoam a little bit, taking a file or something, rough up that styrofoam. Now, we've got several products that you can use with this. Right here we've got Flex Paste, which has been painted on to the styrofoam to make a hard shell. It's a nice flexible paste type product, makes a good base for your scenery. It will give a little, it will bend a little, so that if there's a little torquing with your layout, or if you've got a module or something that's going to be moved, this stuff is not going to crack on you. It won't crack when it dries or anything. And then what do we got next there, Miles? We got some plaster cloth.
This is plaster cloth, and it's applied again directly over the roughed up styrofoam, and then lightweight hydrocal applied directly over the roughed up styrofoam. You could dip it in towels, but that's kind of a waste. You can just simply put it on there, and it'll grab into the foam real well. Any one of these products all allow you to put hydrocal or whatever your landscaping materials are directly on top of them. This is a lightweight hydrocal rock that's been attached to the flex paste, to the plaster cloth, and to the hydrocal directly, along with some of the ground foam products applied with the Scenic cement. So we don't get the separation that you've heard about with maybe some other products. Direct application on all these right onto the styrofoam.
Okay, but as we said a few minutes ago, Woodland Scenics is recommending just using newspaper. Everybody's got it around the house. It's easy to use. It's cheap. It's a very good way for beginners particularly to work because it's easy to work with. You can see what you're going to end up with before you actually do anything. But now, of course, we do need to have a hard terrain shell on top of the newspapers. So what we're going to use here is plaster cloth. And this is a gauze impregnated, or a plaster impregnated gauze, and it comes in a roll. It's 8 inches wide and comes in a long roll. You just tear off what you need, and you need to make sure that you put the bumpy side up. There's a smooth side and a bumpy side. Make sure that you've got the bumpy side up when you apply it. Just makes more of the plaster available for use. And then you're going to take a paintbrush, just paint over the plaster, paint over the plaster cloth, spread out the plaster. You're going to kind of fill in the holes. It doesn't really matter whether you actually fill them all in or not, but just kind of spread out the plaster. Now, where the plaster meets the edge of your hardboard here in front and on the sides and back, you're going to just fold over the plaster cloth. Makes a little bit stronger edge, makes a nice, neat edge for the edge of your diorama. And the same thing, of course, on your layout. You can fold it over on the edge and make a nice, neat edging on it. Now, when Miles puts on a second sheet, he's going to overlap it 50% on the first sheet and 50% on new territory. All right? In effect, you're ending up with a double layer of the plaster cloth. Just gives it a little more strength. But this should give it enough strength for any of the scenery materials, the buildings, anything that you want to put on top of it. If you've got a very heavy building, maybe one made out of metal or something with a lot of heavy interior in it or something, you might want to put one more layer of plaster cloth on just to give it a little bit of additional strength. But under any kind of normal circumstances, the 2 layers will be very much all that you would need. All right, and he's just going to continue across his board. Looking good. And you can see the contours just develop immediately when you get the plaster cloth on here. Now, in the scenery kit, we tell you to go ahead and just put the plaster cloth over the entire thing. When you do your layout, you're probably not going to put it over your roadbed material. All right, but in the scenery kit, it's a lot easier to just put it over the whole thing. You're not going to have a train running on this anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. Now, at the ends here, Miles has got a half strip, and he's putting that on the end where he's just got 1 layer of plaster cloth, so that he's doubling the layer on the ends too, so that the whole thing is going to have 2 layers of plaster cloth on there. Okay, looking good. We got another one for the first end there?
Yep.
I guess we're pretty well organized here, aren't we?
Almost looks like we planned it this way.
I guess so. All right, that's looking real good. Now, plaster cloth is a lot neater and easier to use than dipping paper towels into Hydrocal. You know, you mixed up your Hydrocal, and by the time you got your paper towels dipped in it, half of it was hard. You lost half of it. With the plaster cloth, you don't have any waste because each sheet is dry until you're ready to use it. You just begin to use it by dipping it into the water, and you don't have any wastage with it. You can tear it into any size or any shape that you need on your layout. If you need a small strip to fill in maybe a hole or a low area or something, you can tear just a small strip. If you want to use it in the big chunks like we did earlier, however you want to use it, it's going to work out for you, and there's a lot less waste than you have with plaster. Now, Woodland Scenics makes 15 different rock molds, and they're made out of this nice heavy-duty black vinyl material, so they're good and sturdy. They're going to last you for a long time. There are 15 different ones. There's smaller rocks, larger rocks, you know, a lot of different configurations of rocks. They're all real well detailed, give you a lot of nice detail on the rock. And what we're going to do is use the lightweight Hydrocal to pour the rock mold, and Miles is going to start mixing some of that up here. And
Anybody go see the Harlem Globetrotters? Anybody believe this is not water in here? Just checking. Just checking.
okay, now on the packages of lightweight Hydrocal, and then also in the scenery kit, you're going to get exacting instructions on how to mix up the lightweight Hydrocal, so you don't have to guess at it. But for right here, we're just going to kind of play it by ear and mix it up to what looks pretty good. It's a faster way to do it for the clinic. The lightweight Hydrocal is about half the weight of Hydrocal. It's really, really nice stuff for doing rock castings, for doing anything that's going to go on a module. It gives you the Hydrocal look. It gives you the detail that you can get with Hydrocal, but it gives you a lot less weight. And the other thing about it is, you know, with the Hydrocal, you got to have to take your Dremel tool to carve that stuff, and even then, you're not too sure you can do it. You can carve this with an X-Acto knife, and we'll show you that in just a little bit, how easy it is to carve. All right, we're going to take a little wet water here, and we're just going to kind of lightly spray down the rock mold, not too much.
That's water with a little soap in it, okay? You put that in your mold, you'll find that you'll reduce your air bubbles. Yeah,
Yes.
detergent, hand soap, anything like that will work. Just any kind of soap at all.
Okay, he's going to just pour that into the mold here that we've wetted with a little bit of wet water.
Okay, we spread that around a little bit. And that should be pretty dry by the time the clinic is over with, so we'll set it aside and just let it start to set up.
We'll unmold that by the end of the clinic for you. We'll just put it right there. Okay, let that go. Okay, now then, the big problem, of course, with plaster is it's white, really white. And so what we want to do is we want to get some color onto the rocks. Let's move this out of the way for a few minutes, Miles, and let's bring up your rock board over there.
Alrighty.
Let that dry a little bit. Okay, the first thing we want to do is we want to get these rocks onto the area that we've got set up here. This is just a little demo board that we've got that we're going to show you. Okay, more Hydrocal time. Okay, now these are rocks that we have pre-cast in the lightweight Hydrocal. These are from some of the different rock molds that Woodland Scenics makes. And this is kind of a nice rock wall that we've got going here. And we've already put these rock castings on, but we're going to put a few more rock castings on the top. Now, one of the things that you can do when you use the lightweight Hydrocal, what we suggest you do is just make your rock castings, let them dry like this, and then just take them and kind of fit them into the hillside, see how they're going to work. All right, this
Make
one
all
looks
kinds of bricks, right, that you can work
like
from.
it works maybe kind of right here, and maybe that one would fit in pretty well kind of over in here.
You don't suppose the numbers are helping you at all?
Maybe the numbers would help, yeah. Then what you want to do is you want to number them on the back, all right? It's kind of like working with brick, all right? And get these things ready to put on.
How
Now,
do you do that?
anytime you attach plaster to plaster, everything needs to be wet. So we're going to take these rock castings and we're going to just dump them in our bucket of water here and let them soak for a couple of minutes. And then
Well,
we're going
maybe
to...
they won't soak long.
All right, we're going to take them right and get some water up here.
This has got to be wet. What do I got here? This is for it. That's good.
It's on this side.
I got my plaster a little dry, so the proportions are in the scenery manual and in the instructions for the scenery kit on how to do this. So you're going to get your proportions kind of right on the money.
Exactly right.
But 5 up here. I've got mine a little dry, so it'll go a little quicker for us today. There we go. What you been need more on the side over there? It's dry, okay.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Bad.
Looks
Now,
good.
where I've got the gaps in between, no good, right? So what I want to do is I want to take that plaster and I'm just going to smear it right on the front. Just smear it on there. Now this would not be the way that you would normally maybe think of putting rocks together. And normally if you had a little soupier mix, you'd probably let this ooze out in front, but I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to help it along because I got such a dry mixture on this. But we want to try and get that plaster down in there in the joints, because about the time that I get it on here, I can take a water bottle and I can come back and I can carve. All I need to carve the rocks with is not a dental tool, it's not an X-Acto knife or anything like that, just a water bottle set on spray. And all I'm going to do is come back here and flood. Let's turn it over to jet because this is dry. And I'm going to carve that right back in. I'm going to wash it off of the face of the rock that was there. The secret here is the fact that I took the rocks and I rubbed them together, and I'll show you that in just a second. I rubbed them together before I ever started so that they were already fitting tightly together. Okay? This is one we did in yesterday's clinic. You can see that they're pretty close, but all I've got to do to make these rocks fit together is simply take them and rub them. And I can actually rub with this lightweight Hydrocal them until they will, see if I can get it up a little bit, actually rub together so tightly that I almost wouldn't need any plaster to put them together. All I need is some plaster on the back side, stick them up against my rock wall, and they'd be ready to go. And the same thing, just to show you that Fran was telling you the right way, when you can't do that with ordinary Hydrocal. But the surface tension on this is every bit as strong as it would be with a regular Hydrocal that you'd use.
Okay, looks good. I think we got them on there. Why don't we turn this board around and let's talk about coloring the rocks.
And this is the one we did in yesterday's clinic, and it's already dried, so we can do a little color on it.
Okay. Now, Woodland Scenics makes the earth color liquid pigments, which come in another number of different colors. Now, these are just pigments. They're water soluble. They're just pigments. They don't have any of the fixative acrylics and binders. I never remember those words. Acrylics and binders in them. So all they are is just the color. And they're very, very concentrated. What you're going to do is you're going to
Carefully apply them.
Well, you're going to mix them with water first. You're going to dilute them with water. Now, the formulas are in the scenery kit. They're also in the scenery manual. Basically, the lighter colors, I guess you could say, you're going to mix about 16 to 1, one part of the liquid pigment to 16 parts of water. The black and the other darker colors are mixed 1 part of liquid pigment to 32 parts of water. Now, what Miles is using here right now is the burnt umber. And what he's doing is a technique called leopard spotting. He's just taking the color and he's sort of polka dotting it all around the rock faces, maybe trying to cover, what, about half of the rock face,
Yeah,
something like that?
Yeah, I tried to get about half of it done.
All right. Then he's going to take the yellow ochre, the second color, and he's going to dot that around in the other areas.
I'm going to be a little more careful with the yellow because I just threw the red up here, but the yellow, I'm going to be a little more careful and try and make sure that I actually get it on the white areas that were left. I really did try to cover about half of the rock, but I tried to be a little careful. I mean, I was kind of throwing it around here, but what you don't see is I was being careful to make sure that I left some white areas around here, about half of the rocks open, that I could come back and add some yellow to a little bit later on.
Now, if you just use the earth color liquid pigment straight out of the bottle, straight out of the containers, they'll do an opaque painting job, a coloring that you can't see through. But that's probably not what you're going to want when you do the rock painting. So that's why we dilute them. We're going to make a stain or a wash, all right? You're just going to put a little bit of color on at a time. This makes it easier for you to not mess up, all right? If you get a little bit too much color on with this system, you can wash it off again with plain water or with a little bit of salt water, and the whole thing will wash off again. If you want more color on it than you put on the first time, just keep adding another layer of the color. All right, makes it much easier for you. You don't have to worry about getting too much on that you can't do anything about. Now what Miles is doing, of course, here, he's just putting it on with a paintbrush. There's a couple of different things that you can do. If you use the Earth Color Liquid Pigment Kit, you get a little foam dauber. You can put it on that way. You can use a paintbrush. If you'd like to, you can put it in the spray bottles, and you can just spritz on the different colors and kind of polka dot it on that way, do the leopard spotting that way. But now when he puts the black on over the whole thing, the black goes into the cracks and crevices and puts some nice color into those areas and just kind of blends the whole thing together so that it gets a look of real rock. Now there are a lot of different colors. There are 8 different colors in the Earth Color pigments so that you can come up with color combinations that will work for rocks anywhere around the country. You know, maybe in your area there are more blue-black. Maybe they're more yellow. Just depends. Rocks are different colors in different areas, and you can come up with combinations of the colors to match rock in any kind of an area.
Okay.
Looks pretty
Now,
good.
my rocks are pretty wet, but what I would want to do is if I didn't like this rock in here that's a little lighter, let that dry a little bit. It'll be ready to absorb again, and just like Fran said, I could come back here a little bit later. We may try it a little later on the clinic. We'll see how we're doing on time, and we'll color a little more on that color over there. If it's the right color and I really like it, then what I want to do is take my Scenic cement over here, can't quite reach it, there we go, and I'm going to spray that down. Like, let's say that I like this side over here, so I'll kind of stay away from this for right now. Spray that down, and the Scenic cement is an acrylic polymer. It will skin over and coat and protect. It'll fix the colors that I liked here on this side. So once you get it right, fix it. Otherwise, it will continue to fade. Remember, it doesn't have any binders or anything in the pigment, so if I don't fix it, if I just leave it, I say, well, boy, that's really great, and I go home or I go upstairs and I go to bed, leave my railroad room. Next morning when I come down, this is going to be a lot lighter than when I left it that night before. So be sure and fix it if you like it. If it gets too dark, take some water, just wash it over the top, and you can actually wash that color right off, which is what happened to me here. I got a little bit too much of the black, and it took some of my color off. I should have let it absorb a little bit more before I actually hit it with the black wash, okay?
Now once you've put on your layer of Scenic cement, you're not going to be able to wash off anything that's underneath that layer. You can add more color on top of the Scenic cement, which will give it some more color, and then when you like that and it's dry, put another layer of Scenic cement on. You can only wash down to the last layer of Scenic cement. You're not going to be able to wash off anything that's below that layer. Okay, but you can add more detailing and more color on top of the Scenic cement. Okay.
Back in there. Yeah,
That looks good.
I'll put it aside and we'll do a little more in a little bit.
Okay. All right, let's move that out of the way maybe. Okay, let's bring this box back. Okay, now let's see. We've got our scenery kit back here, and we need some rocks on there.
Think so?
Yeah, I think we need some rocks on there.
Good idea. You want to try a dry one?
That'd probably be a good idea.
I think a dry one would be even better.
Okay.
Let's do the magic of Woodland Scenics here.
Okay.
We happen to have one that looks just like that.
All right, now in the scenery kit you'll get a package of rocks, and you get a culvert. Woodland Scenics makes culverts, we make retaining walls, and we make tunnel portals, all made out of Hydrocal. And the culvert comes in 4 pieces like this. All right.
That, yeah.
And the way you're going to color this is you're just going to take these pieces. You may need to clean a little bit of the flash off with your X-Acto. And then you're just going to drop them in your black coloring.
You. How about come up here real quick? Drop that in the bucket.
You just painted.
Is that concrete?
All
You're
right. You got it. Thank you.
He's quick.
Okay.
Okay. It's really that easy. Just simply drop in the bucket, leave it there for a second or two, pull it out, put it on your table, wipe up some of the excess here, and you can see just almost instantaneously it will give you a concrete color. It runs back into the cracks and crevices and gets a little darker, it runs off the top and gets lighter, makes a beautiful concrete piece. Use the same technique for coloring the concrete tunnel portals or the concrete retaining walls. They color up real quick and they're ready to put on the railroad right away. This one we've done that way, and I just simply glued it together with some white glue with the instructions in the kit tell you how to do that. And then you can just simply hold it up here. You can mark it with a pencil if you want to, or you can just simply kind of guesstimate. I'll do the plastic cloth is really neat because you can kind of make the contours the way Mother Nature would have had the scenery coming across here, and then you can come back afterwards and cut out pieces that need to be altered. So I just alter that scenery a little bit by shoving it down, make a place for my culvert to set, and he'll set right in there. We'll take some Hydrocal in just a second. I got to mix again, don't I?
Mm-hmm.
I'm on a roll.
Okay. Now, the rock castings that are in the scenery kit are from the random rock casting, rock mold. And this is the only place that you actually get rock castings from Woodland Scenics. In general, we
How do
sell
I get
you.
rocks from Woodland Scenics then?
Well, you buy the rock molds and you make your own.
Ah.
All right. But these we sell you the castings in the kit. And when you create your contours, there'll be diagrams in the instructions with the scenery kit that show you pretty much how to do your contours here, so that you create some areas where you can put these rocks, and you just can kind of put them up here on the hillside however you want to. And then again, it will give you the directions on mixing the lightweight Hydrocal so that you get it the right consistency, so you don't have to guess on that kind of thing. And like Miles is doing, he's just kind of putting some together here quickly. And again, we're going to take all of these castings and we're going to put them in the water because they need to be wet. And then we're going to take the spray bottle and we're going to wet down the area here where we've been working. Put the culvert in there too and wet down that area. Okay. What are you going to put on first?
Oh, I don't care.
All right.
Let's see what looks good here. How about something right about maybe in there?
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Okay. Just put a little of the lightweight Hydrocal on the back of your rock casting, wet rock casting.
Actually, I don't like the contour very much.
Okay.
Alter it a little bit.
All right. There we go.
The neat thing about this, you don't like it, you make it anything you want. Push it out, pull it up. Throw a little more plaster cloth on there if you wanted to. Kind of anything. Anything, anyway, it doesn't make any difference. Join that up. That looks kind of nice together.
Okay.
Yeah, so now I put a little plaster on the edge of my rock here so that it'll bind onto the rock that's next to it. And I'll throw a little on the back to make it bind to my display. And again, in a minute here, we'll come along and we'll just take a sprayer. My brush washed out again here. We'll take a sprayer and we'll just kind of join those together. Let's see, this rock looks like it'd go pretty well back up behind there. Going on kind of right in there. How's that look?
Okay.
And down here, let's see, we went for a little on the bottom. A little base to stick with. Okay.
Okay.
Not bad now. Take a little more and I'll make my stream bed out here where the water would be running out of my culvert. Runoff. A little up on top.
Now, Miles is using some of his extra lightweight Hydrocal to fill in around his culverts and around his rock castings. You should have plenty of the lightweight Hydrocal in the scenery kit to do this with. If you'd like to, if you've got some of the plaster cloth left, you can tear small strips of plaster cloth, dip those in the water, and those can be used the same way to fill in gaps that you've got around the rock castings or around the culvert. What you're trying to do is just blend the whole thing into the hillside so it looks like the rocks have actually grown out of this hillside, that they're actually part of the hillside. You don't want any big gaps around them, or you don't want it to look unnatural, like they don't really belong there.
Looking bad.
Okay?
Yep.
You going to carve that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, why not?
All right.
Add a little more right in there.
Okay.
Looking too bad.
All right, now he's carving again with the water. He's just spraying that. Now you got to do this while the plaster's still fairly wet. You're not going to be able to wait until tomorrow and do this. You're going to have to do this right away while it's wet. And then he's going to take a wet paintbrush and he's just going to kind of brush it down a little bit, blend it into the hillside, clean off the culvert a little bit if he's gotten some of the excess plaster on the lightweight Hydrocal on the culvert. And he'll clean that up a little bit. Okay, looks real natural, like that came right out of the hillside there.
Just like the dirt was right there.
Okay. I'm going to brush around the rock casting just a little bit. Blend those in. Now again, we're going to use the same earth color liquid pigments that we had before. We've got the burnt umber, we've got the yellow, and we've got the black. And he's going to just leopard spot this. He's using his paintbrush. And he's just going to leopard spot these on. You can use a foam dauber, you can use a little square of foam, you can use, like I say, you can put it in the spray bottle and you can spritz it on from the spray bottle. Any way that you want to do it is going to work. What are we doing here, Miles?
That's not quite dark enough for my, you all right?
Yes?
Dark enough for my choice here.
Okay. He's going to add just a little bit of additional color here.
I want it so you can see it in the back, and it's just, at home you can kind of add some layers on like she's talking about, but here we some time restraints, so I want to add it, make it a little darker right away. Okay. A little yellow in the other parts where they were white.
Again, he's trying to cover about half of it with the first color and about half with the second color. And then he's going to kind of flood the whole thing with the black. Okay, put a little color over the whole thing. Okay. It's looking real good.
Now, one of the very first things that we said at the start was that Woodland Scenics tries to make their products as foolproof as possible. And I had a person over to my layout one night, and he was going to learn how to color rocks. And I put some of the yellow out, and I put some of the red out, and I put some of the black out in a paint tray like this, you know, 3 of the colors. And I told him now that one of the ways you can do is you can take the foam dauber and daub a little red on here, and then come back over and grab a little yellow and daub that on, and just keep mixing it with a lot of water, and you can mix directly off the color, which is what I did here when I made this red a little darker. I shot a little on the table, and I was picking up a little directly and mixing it with a lot of water. And I turned around to go help somebody else after I had given him the instruction on what to do, and he took his sponge and he rammed the sponge in the red, rammed it in the yellow, rammed it in the black, picked up all 3 colors, shoved it in the bucket of water, and just daubed it all over. The rocks came out looking great. Okay? It's one of those things where you really can't mess up. This system really, really works well. Okay.
Let's do a little fly specking here. All right?
Fly specking I like. Where's my paper? Do it here.
Okay. Now, rock is not really dead material. Rock is living material. It's got a lot of things growing out of it all of the time. And the way to model this is a technique that we call fly specking. Now, what Miles has got here is a little bit of the soil turf, the fine turf in the soil. And all he's done is taken a piece of paper here, and he's bent it into kind of a J shape. And then he's going to hold this down by the rock faces here. Now, these are still wet with the liquid pigment on them and the water.
Normally I'd stand behind, but that would block the view for you all, so I'm going to do it from up above this way.
And he's just going to puff down onto the top of this piece of paper, and it just lightly blows a little bit of the foam onto the face of the rock.
It really gives it a texture that you don't get any other way.
Okay. It models the dirt, the crud that grows on the rock. Now, if some of you are modeling eastern railroads where you have a lot of moss on the railroads, use the green foam, some of the green colors of foam, and do the same technique, and it'll put the moss onto the rock and look really, really nice.
And another thing that'll help that mossy look, too, is we're about to put some brown undercoat on this contour material to give it a kind of an under base coating coloring. If you use some of the green undercoat, which is also available, it works real well. Mix it, really dilute it down about 32:1, and just let some run on the front of the rocks, and it'll give it a nice green cast.
Okay. Now, the next product we're going to use here is the Earth Undercoat. This is part of the liquid pigment system. And what we want to do is we want to put just a little bit of color onto the plaster. Later on, of course, you're going to be putting landscaping materials on here, and you're going to be putting color on with that. But the Earth Undercoat just puts a little bit of color onto your plaster. That way, if you don't get total coverage with your turf, or if some of it gets rubbed off a little bit or something like that, you're still going to have some color, and you're not going to have just the white plaster showing through. Now, the Earth Undercoat is also very concentrated. It's like the other liquid pigments. It's very, very concentrated. So he's not putting very much on here. He's using more water than he is anything else. And you don't want to put an opaque coating with this thing. You don't need to do that. You just want to put a little bit of color on. Just kind of spread it around. You don't need it real even. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference with
just
putting it on real
water,
even.
And that little bit will spread all over everywhere. It'll take but about 2 or 3 squeezes. You can do this whole base piece with it. Just Scrub some of that off, move it over there. Just want to get a nice stain, actually, not a paint. Just a staining.
And again, all of the products now that we've been using on here, these are all included in the scenery kit. So when you purchase the scenery kit, all of the things that we've used this morning on this little diorama, those are all included in your scenery kit for you. All right, why don't we put that out of the way and let it dry, and let's talk about a few other things. This is as far as we're going to go on the scenery kit in this clinic. Now, the next sections of the scenery kit are the landscape sections, and we'll pick those up in the next clinic. But we have a few other things that we want to talk about and want to show you here, so we'll move a few of these things out of the way. All right. One of the things that Woodland Scenics makes is the tunnels and the retaining walls, along with the culverts. These are all Hydrocal castings, and you can do some really, really nice things with these castings. Now, Miles is bringing in a little module here that we've built up, that's got, of course, some of the rock castings from the rock molds on it, and then it's got a tunnel portal, and I can't remember which one we got on there. We got concrete? Concrete tunnel portal, and we've got some of the concrete retaining walls on here.
I'd put it on my railroad.
I would too. Looks good to me.
Plus I built it, so
that's true. All right. Okay, and then he'll show you if he can.
If you look through here now, I think you can see that there's actually a tunnel in there. Actually a place where the train could go through, and you can actually see the rock kind of down inside. And the way we did that, we turn this around on the back side where you can see. It's kind of a cute little trap door right here. But this is a mold that we sell that allows you to make half of the tunnel per casting. And the mold is really kind of neat because you can make it both single and double track. There's a little flap that folds in here. If you cast it like it is right now all the way across, you'll get half of a tunnel liner for a double track main line. If you fold this in and only cast from here back this way, you get a single track wide half piece. You put the pieces together with a little of the plaster cloth over the top to hold them together. That's what my hinge is back in here, is just one little piece of plaster cloth. Attach some of the others so they're solid, and you can hinge a few of them so you can get in there and do track maintenance and work on it. Or you could make it into a U shape and just set it in there in your tunnel, and where you could take it out and then work on your track. It gives it a real nice look, though, because it looks like you really did carve your tunnel right out of the solid rock scenery that you've made on the front of your layout.
Okay, you think this rock mold's ready to unmold?
Probably.
All right, let's see.
Go for it.
Move that out of the way a little bit.
Once you get the mold.
Okay. The light, you'll just have to, it depends and how damp the air is and a few other details like that, just how you mix the plaster and all. But it should set up in about 30 minutes or so, and it looks like we've got this thing in pretty good shape here. Well, very nice, very nice. Okay, we'll put that up here, and you can come up and take a look at it at the end of the clinic if you'd like to. But that's how easy it is to make the rock castings with the Woodland Scenics rock molds.
When you pick this up, you'll notice that it has a little weight to it. Here's the one that we did that I carved on yesterday. You'll see that it's getting much lighter. After about 3 days, this will lose all the moisture out of it, or at least a great deal of it. It'll dry down to room humidity, and this will weigh literally about half as much as a rock the same size and out of the same mold that I would have done out of regular Hydrocal.
Let's show them the scenery kit again.
Scenery kit.
All right. Woodland Scenics feels that the way for you to learn scenery is to actually get in there and do it yourself. And that's why we've come up with the scenery kit. We've put all of these products together, plus the complete instruction book, and to give you the idea and give you the experience of doing the scenery yourself. And then the other thing we've come up with is the scenery manual. Got one of those over here, too. This is a 160-page book, and that gives you all of the information on using all of the Woodland Scenics products, gives you a lot of ideas on doing scenery kind of start to finish. Yep. And it's good for beginners. It's good for people who've done scenery in the past. It just gives you a lot of information. We'd like to invite all of you to come over and visit our booth in the train show over the next few days. We'll have a lot of the Woodland Scenics products available over there that you can take a look at, and we'll have some things for sale over there. We'll be available to chit-chat to you and talk to you about any questions you have or anything you want to tell us about how you use the products or new products you'd like to see. welcome you today to the Woodland Scenics Landscape Clinic. And I'm Fran Hale.
And I'm Miles Hale.
We both work for Woodland Scenics. And what we're here for today is to talk to you about using the Woodland Scenics landscape system in putting landscape materials on your layout. The Scenery Kit is a learning tool that Woodland Scenics has put together to help you learn how to do terrain and landscape modeling. And the contents of the box here give you everything you need to create this little 10-inch by 18-inch diorama here. Now, of course, you can use it when you're done to display an engine or a piece of rolling stock or something, but the important thing is that while you're doing it, you learn how to use the various scenery products and you learn how to do some scenery work on your layout. Okay, we're going to take a look at the landscape system here. Woodland Scenics created the whole system as a system so that you have everything you need to do landscaping on your layout. And they have made realistic colors, they have made colors that work together, and various textures that all work together.
Right. You can make almost anything that's growing in miniature.
That's right. The theory at Woodland Scenics is anybody can do scenery with a little bit of practice, anybody can do scenery, and that you can't mess it up. We make products that are, I guess you could call them forgivable, things that can be fixed if you do mess up a little bit, and things that are easy to use.
And easy to fix.
That's right. That's right. Okay, we're going to start here, and we're going to assume at this point, when you start doing your landscaping, that you already have your terrain contours built, you have your rock castings and your other Hydrocal castings on your railroad. All right, in the scenery kit, you get a chunk of track, HO track comes in the scenery kit. And now, if you're in another scale, if you work in another scale and you want to substitute a piece of your own track for that, you can do that. If you want to put N-scale track or O-scale track or something on there, perfectly all right. Just substitute a piece of your own. Now, what Miles is doing here, he's going to attach this track with some of our Hobby Tack adhesive. This is our new adhesive. It's a contact type adhesive, and it's got a brush in the lid here, so he's just brushing some on the back of the track piece. And then he's going to take it and he's just going to kind of pour this down the roadbed area. All right, and kind of spread that out.
Tip that up a little bit so you can see.
There we go.
Run that around everywhere. Give it a good chance to get stuck.
Now, this is a contact type of adhesive, so he's going to just let this sit for a couple of minutes and dry a little bit before he goes ahead and attaches the two together.
So I can put this aside for now?
That's right.
That's good. Now can I put my grass on?
Now you can put your grass on. Okay, so what he's using, of course, is the Scenic cement. He's spraying that around, and this is green blend. This is one of the two colors of blended turf that we have. This is the green blend, and basically he's going to try and do a fairly even coating all over the whole area with the green blend.
Before I go too far here, I'm going to show you, you really don't have to put much of this green on for it to look pretty good. If you've put down the brown earth undercoat that colored our terrain from the last few steps, you can see that I don't have to put very much of the green on, and it's going to look pretty good. If I want a little bit more of an let's try it again. If I want an arid area, this is a pretty easy way to get it very quickly because it just lets some of the brown show through. On the other hand, the other option is available for me too. I can come in here and I can throw a lot more on, and I can make it a lot more on the green. I kind of like the way this stuff does when you get to a hillside because it lets some of the earth show through the dirt. And those of you that saw the fly specking technique where you blow some of the soil on, you can kind of wet this down and blow some soil in there, and it makes a nice little dirt outcropping. It's a real nice look to it.
Now, what he's using to apply the green blend is one of the Scenic sifters. These have a couple of different caps that you can put on with the different size holes. Make it real easy to put on the turfs and the ballast products. We've got them up on the board here with all of our products in them that we're going to be using here today. So he's going to put pretty even coating of the green blend all over. Now, not on his rock castings or on his culvert, or his track area, but pretty much over the rest of it. He's going to pretty much cover with green blend. Looking pretty good.
Not bad so far.
Okay. And Scenic cement, of course, will fix this down.
Try to get a little more down here. This is the area where you might have a little more green growing because you got the water runoff from the culvert and that kind of thing going on. So I'll try and be a little more careful about getting a little more on there than I might in some of the other areas. fire that happy grass in.
Okay, now the only problem with this is it's too even. Nobody's ever seen a rail yard that looks like this. Why don't you hold that up so they can see it in the back. Okay. Nobody's ever seen a rail yard that looks like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of add some different colors to make it look a little bit more realistic. So again, he's going to spray it over with the Scenic cement.
Well, let's see. Let's put a little burnt grass on. Burnt grass looks a little bit more like it's a little drier. Hasn't gotten so much water. So we'll throw that around in there. Up on top. Now, once you do that, though, if I don't put any at all down low down here, it's going to look kind of weird. The eye will pick up how much of a big variance there is between the area up here on top where it's dry and this down here where it's wet. So I want to just put a little bit, just a little blending, a little bit of a shake on there, just to get a little bit. So my eye doesn't see that there's too much of a difference. There's a difference, but it's not real stark. Okay, I can do the same thing with some of the other colors. Maybe I want to throw a little earth up here. It'll look a little dry, like a little brown patches around different places. And again, just a little bit down there. A little yellow grass up here on top would be good. A little highlight. And again, a little bit down there.
We might have some weeds down there below the culvert that's a real well-watered area.
Greener.
You'll want to take a look at your terrain contours. The higher areas are probably going to be drier. The areas around water areas and maybe below culverts are going to be wetter areas, and they would have the greener colors on them.
So a lot of the weeds down here, just a little up on top. Just reverse it, okay? But you want a little bit everywhere.
Think that track's ready to put down?
Well, it might be, but let me cheat a little bit. I want to do one thing real quick.
Oh, you're going to do some fly specking.
I'll do a real quick.
That's all right.
We got this hillside right here. And I was talking about making it look like a dirt outcropping. We'll do a little fly specking on there to show you a different way that you can do the...
All right, what he's done is he's taken a sheet of paper, he's just kind of folding it, bending it into a J shape, and he's put a little of the soil turf on the bottom part, and then he's just going to puff down that top area and just lightly mist that turf onto the rock face. Now he's putting it on with Scenic cement. Just adds the dirt and the growth that is on any kind of a rock area.
Okay, then we can take the track. I'll hold it up again here in a second and show you. So that's kind of dry. Now I got a little of the dirt down here where the track's going to be. The ballast will take that out, and then you'll have a little starker piece that'll look a little bit more like the dirt outcropping there. Okay.
Okay, let's have some ballast.
Do a little ballast, and we'll really make it look good.
Now what he's using here is the gray blend ballast. Woodland Scenics makes a number of different colors of ballast and a number of different sizes. Pretty much hit any kind of the area of the country that you're modeling. And again, we're using the Scenic sifter, and he's just pouring this down the track area. Then he's just going to take a dry paintbrush, spread it out, get it off of the rail, get it off of the top of the ties. Just nicely spread it out.
Pretty good looking. I think one of the easiest things to do is to put down ballast, and I get more questions about that asked by a lot of people. All you really need to do is hold the Scenic sifter bottle away from the track a little bit, spray it, let it get a little wet. While I talk, what I'm really doing is I'm waiting about 30 seconds. I'm going to let some of that kind of settle in a little bit. And then I can come down here and I can get real close to it, and I can just flood that, just kind of saturate it. And if I'd leave that alone now overnight, go up, do something else for the rest of the day or whatever, come back for my next session when I'm going to work on the railroad, it'll be all hard, fixed, and ready to go. I can take maybe a brush or something, clean off some of the track, but it really looks pretty good, just like that. Okay? What I've done actually now, once I put on the original green undercoat here, was I came back and I blended. What we used to blend is burnt grass. Very good. Okay.
All right, now then, we still have a problem here because this thing really is all flat and level on the green areas. We need some texture because plants aren't all of the same height. So what Miles has got now is the coarse turf. All right, and he's just going to sprinkle this around. This represents the next layer of weeds and plant growth.
Now what I'm trying to do here is keep them together in groups. I'm not trying to make individual clumps of them. If I make individual clumps, my layout may tend to look kind of polka dotted. And weeds, I have to give you my weeds and family story here. Weeds are like families. They're some of the best families we know. They take the older members of the family and they kind of support them in the middle, and they raise them up and they hold them up. And the younger generations are kind of around that, and they don't let the kids get too far away. Okay, they like to keep them all in tight together. So you're better off when you begin to make weeds and to make plant growths and things like that, keep them together so that the color and the texture are kind of all in one area. Don't spread them out and put little bits here and there if you can help it. Okay, so I put some around here of one color. I can put some other color in here. This is kind of an arid kind of burnt grass type color. And I'll put some of that around. Now, it doesn't look too bad, except that I went to a lot of trouble to blend with my burnt grass a minute ago on all of my turf that I put down. Now I've put this down, and now this to me, and I hope to you, looks kind of stark. It doesn't look like it's part of the grass that it came from. So what I want to do is I want to blend it. I'm going to take a little Scenic cement, and I'm going to fix that so it didn't go anywhere on me, for starters. And then I'm going to take
burnt grass.
Burnt grass. And I'm going to barely sift over the top of that. And you can probably just see it change right before your eyes. It's almost literally magic. But it will blend that right back into the background. It gives it the feel now. Now I have the feeling on top of this new that I've put on that it really is blended back in, that it's come from the grass material that was back in behind. Okay? So very important, most important thing that I can probably get across today is blending.
Okay, but now those aren't really very big weeds. We need some bigger weeds.
Bigger weeds?
How about some clump foliage?
That'd be fine.
Okay, I think
got
you have
that
it over
over here,
there.
though. I got this
Clump
over here.
foliage is another ground foam product from Woodland Scenics, and it comes in clumps, all right? Small, various sized chunks. You can just take it out of the bag, use it the way it is. You don't have to do anything to it, all right? It's already ready to use. And
Mine settled a little bit, so I'm going to break it up. But normally you just take it right out and use it.
all right, you're going to attach the clump foliage with the hobby tack adhesive. Now, when you have a dry layout that you're working on, you would just paint it on with the lid, with the brush and the lid. Miles is working on a real wet layout here, so he's just going to kind of pour it on, and then he's just going to put some of the clump foliage into the hobby tack that he's poured on.
Okay, so we got a little texture down there. Let's get something that's a little drier looking. Got a little different green here. Put it up on top.
There are 6 colors of the clump foliage, including a fall mix for those of you that like to do the fall scenes. So you can pretty much use any kind of a color that you need. Now, we'll show you in a little bit. We're going to also make trees with this material. And it's really a very versatile material. You can use it for a lot of different purposes. It's good for any scale. Doesn't really make any difference along that line. And we're putting some nice growth here above our rock outcrops. We've got some down below the culvert there.
That's right. Looking pretty good, just like that.
Okay. All right.
But I'm polka dotted again, huh? It's a little too bright. Doesn't look like it came from what's underneath. So maybe I can do it even holding it up if I can hold it steady enough. Wet that a little bit. And
Burnt grass.
Burnt grass.
Very good. You'll take home something from this clinic, right?
That's right. That's right, that's right. Okay, but literally, a change before your eyes. Okay.
Okay, now the clump foliage is the material that we have in the scenery kit. That's one of the newer materials that Woodland Scenics makes. But we have some other materials that you can use for similar kinds of modeling. One of those is foliage clusters, which I think you have over here.
I have that over here.
Again, it's a ground foam type material, but it comes in larger chunks.
Jugglable.
Comes in larger chunks like this, and
She gives me the same look when I want to juggle the eggs out of the refrigerator.
what you're probably going to want to do with the foliage clusters are tear them up, all right, into the size pieces that you want to use. And looks like Miles is going to put a piece on here. It is not in the scenery kit, but it is available from Woodland Scenics. But it does make the ground cover, the bushes, the shrubs, that kind of material. And again, you would put it on burnt grass, blend it on the top with the burnt grass.
Just a little bit on there.
All right, then we also have lichen. Okay, lichen is a natural product, a natural growing product. It's a little plant. And what you need to do with the lichen is to cut off the bottom stem part of the lichen. You want to use the top bushy type of area on the lichen.
I like to cut it off flat because then it sets on the layout really nicely and I can use the hobby tack glue to attach it. The other thing is pick your lichen, your color, and then pick a color of ground foam, fine turf, that's a shade lighter or darker than what you're using here. Don't match it. Get a shade that's lighter or darker. Spray it down a little bit. In this case, since I've got a real dark one, we can use the burnt grass and Coinky dink, huh? Well, what I look like then is I look like I have a little leaf structure then on the plant that's in place here. And I can just take this and plant it. Now, I'm not going to put it on my scenery kit because it's not one of the products that's included in the scenery kit, but we wanted you to see it so that you understand some ways that you can use it. Another thing, I used the fine turf. Coarse turf, believe it or not, looks real good on top of this. Use a combination of the fine, put that on, and then put on a little coarse on top of that. It gives it a nice texture. It'll give you some different looking bushes that you can put on your railroad.
All right, let's talk about polyfiber. All right, polyfiber is in the scenery kit. This is a material that you can use to model those low-growing plants, those things that grow real close to the ground. The ivies, the crown vetches, anybody from the south, the kudzu, all right, things like that, yes.
There's a much better use for this.
I know what the use for this is.
That's right.
A lot of you may have a use along this line. Anyway, to use polyfiber is a synthetic fiber, and it comes in a large, well, I don't know, what would you call this?
Mass.
Mass. All right, good word, good word. All right, what you want to do is you want to pull off a piece, and you want to stretch this stuff until it's real thin and real light and airy.
If you keep stretching this, believe me, that what you buy in the Woodland Scenics packaging will be a lifetime supply.
Okay, now what he's going to do when he gets this stretched out
Okay.
is he's going to overspray this with a little bit of Scenic cement, and then let's put some flowers on there.
Put some flowers on it. This is a little red. Okay.
This is the Woodland Scenics flowers. They come in, I think it's 3 or 4 different colors, 4 different colors. Just a little tiny bit. You don't need very much of this material. Now, the flowers are not in the scenery kit. In the scenery kit, you'll want to use your burnt grass again and sprinkle it. Give it a leaf structure on top. But what we've used here is just a little bit of the flower, give it a little bit of color, and it really does a nice job modeling those plants that grow close to the ground.
A little crown vetch, a little of the spring vine that comes out with a little color on it. And a little bit on your railroad. You know, we always say this is kind of hokey, and you're not sure that it's going to work on a model railroad. Some things that look right in Mother Nature don't always look right on our railroads. This thing is kind of amazing. I've tried it several times on my railroad at home. And if you do it very sparingly like this, it really gives a lot of color, a little life, and it adds a little interest to the railroad that you don't get any other way. It's kind of a neat idea.
All right, now another product that you can use for modeling this low-growing material is the foliage material.
I can do that.
All right. Foliage material, again, comes in a sort of a sheet, I guess you could call it, and it's got an internal structure with the foam on it. And again, this is a material you can use to model those low-growing plants, and you want to just pull off a little piece of it, and you want to just pull this very thin and lacy. Now, the foliage material works real well, not only for ground cover, but if you want to put a vine growing up a building or maybe up a fence post or a tree trunk or something, you can pull off just a little bit of this and you can pull it real thin and you can make it into a vine. And then you do the same thing. You would overspray it with the Scenic cement and then sprinkle on just a little bit of the fine turf to give it a leaf structure. Now, of course, the other thing you can do with foliage material is you can make trees with it.
This is the material that comes in the metal tree armatures that Woodland Scenics provides. And one of the things about this is that I've had several questions on how do I apply it. We had one in the clinic yesterday, I think it was, that the person was saying when I put it on, it looks like an umbrella on my tree. I went to our plant manager after I went to work there because I had the same problem. Mine looked like an umbrella too. And he said, oh no, what you do with it is you take and you tear it up. Literally, you shred it. So Fran's doing that because her hands don't have the hobby tack stuck on them like mine do.
Now, what Miles has is one of the metal tree armatures from the metal tree kits, and he's going to bend that into kind of a nice tree shape. Now, of course, if you were making this on your layout, you would paint this tree armature. You wouldn't leave it the silver color. And then
once you tear that up and let it fall to the ground, just kind of lightly gather it up in kind of a little ball shape, throw it on your tree, and a little pull around a little bit. Now, if I'd painted this armature and it was a little bit brown, well, that would be a pretty good-looking tree end real quick. Okay? And it doesn't look like an umbrella anymore.
When you make
Okay.
trees with
Makes a nice tree.
with the foliage material, you can get a nice, light, airy look to the tree. And depending on the type of trees that you're trying to model, or maybe the area of the country you're trying to model, you may want those trees with that real see-through, lacy, light type of look. All right.
The next type of tree we have is the type that's in the scenery kit. It's the realistic tree armature that has the plastic tree armature in it. And there's a little base. Now, normally we'd take this base. The last couple of years I've done this clinic, I've just kind of tossed it away and kind of laughed at it. In the meantime, over this last year, I've discovered this is a pretty neat little deal because you can trim off a little bit of this trunk portion right here with a pair of flush cutters, put a little hobby tack on the bottom of that, and glue it on your layout at any place where you have a flat surface. And it not only takes the place of the toothpicks that we normally mark our tree holes with, but it gives us a nice place where we have a styrene base, a styrene tree. You can use styrene glue, and it gives you a good gluing surface because you got all this hobby tack attaching the bottom. It makes a real solid mounting for your trees. If you're on a modular railroad, you can put them in and take them out, and it gives it a real good base that looks real nice on your railroad. So don't think too lightly of those anymore. They're kind of neat. And the plastic tree armatures are also kind of sharp. You're going to change the bases on me, aren't you?
Yeah. We're going to move this one here that's real wet that we've been working on. We're going to bring up another one here that's dry. The trees that we're working on now and the field grass, some of those materials are real hard to put onto a layout that's wet. So that's why we're changing. This is a box we made yesterday, and it's just gotten dry, so we can work with it a little bit better. Now what Miles is doing is he's got the plastic tree armature. He's just bending that into a nice tree shape. The plastic armatures are what we call a rebendable plastic. You can bend them over and over again, and they won't break off. So just keep bending them, experiment with a little bit, bend them into a nice shape, and then you're going to take your hobby tack adhesive and just paint that on the armatures. All right, just get it all over the armature.
Okay.
All right, then we've got the Clump-Foliage, and we've got ours in a little container. You can use it right in the bag that it comes in from the hobby shop. And all you're going to do is just dip it in.
That's all?
That's it.
You mean that quick I can have a tree?
That's right.
Wow, that's pretty quick.
I think almost anybody could do that.
If you have any excess, throw it back in the box or whatever. You get to use it again for another tree, or you can use it for bushes or whatever. But it makes a real nice tree very, very quickly. And you can just simply drill a hole and plant it on your railroad. But now, what happened? Does it look polka dot? What do we need to do to it? Burnt grass. That's right. Little spritz over the top, little burnt grass on the tree. Just give it a little.
Now,
Hey, much better, huh?
Now
Does look
also,
better.
when you get the tree the way you want it, you're going to want to give it a spritz of Scenic cement anyway, just to fix it, keep everything together, and let it set until it dries.
The
and then
hobby
we'll put
tack
it on.
will hold, but the Scenic cement puts a nice skin coat over it and makes sure that it doesn't fall off later on down the line. You want to just kind of fix it with that.
Now you can also get the realistic trees ready-made in your hobby shop, and this is where we make them for you at the factory, and they come out of the box, you know, beautiful, ready to go, ready to put on your layout. There are a lot of different sizes, from 3/4 inches tall all the way up to 7 or 8 inches tall. 9 inches. All right.
Yeah.
And there are both deciduous trees and conifer trees. So if you want to do that, that's certainly one way you can get some trees very, very quickly onto your layout. The realistic trees like this that Miles was just making come in the realistic tree kit form, where you get the bag of flat armatures and then you get the bags of Clump-Foliage in a package, and you make them yourself. You can sit in front of the TV some night and you make all the trees you want to while your favorite show's on.
I even have that.
All
here,
right.
I think we've got a product board for that.
Clump-Foliage. All right.
Clump-Foliage.
And then, of course, we have the metal armature tree kits, which have the foliage material for the foliage. And those tree armatures you would need to paint, and because they're the white metal, so you would need to do some painting on those. Okay. All right. Let's talk about
Field grass, I bet.
well, let's do some talus
Wanna do
first.
talus
We need
first?
some
Okay,
talus.
I can do that.
All right.
You got that.
Talus. I've got talus. All right. Talus is rock debris. Okay? The action of freezing and thawing on rocks. You know, water gets into the cracks, and the freezing and thawing breaks off chunks of the rock. You know, when you drive down the highway and you see the sign that says "Watch for Falling Rock," that rock is talus. It's rock that has broken off of the rock outcroppings up above. And so you would find it on your layout below the rock outcroppings, maybe below a culvert area where the water had washed it down, maybe along a stream area, someplace that either water or the action of falling off the rocks would have put it. Now, you would probably want the talus to be similar in color to your rocks, because actually in real life it would have fallen off of those rocks. Now, Woodland Scenics has 4 different colors of talus. One of them is a natural color, which you can put color on yourself if one of the other colors doesn't really match too well with what you have. and you use the earth color liquid pigments that are in the terrain system, and you color the talus the same way you do the rocks. I would put it down first. I would fix it down first, and then I would color it with the earth color liquid pigment. You could just kind of daub on some of the color.
What I've done here is put some down below the rock just as if it had frozen and, cracked off. And I sprayed it just lightly with some of the Scenic cement. Now, the Scenic cement does not hold it in place, but this has a wetting agent. And in this case, my wetting agent is not water, so I'm not diluting my glue even further. Just gives me a little bit better hold. I've taken some Elmer's glue and I've mixed it 50-50 in water. And I'm just going to run that in, and you can just see the Scenic cement helps that just run right down into the rocks. This will take overnight to dry, but by tomorrow morning it'll be just as hard as a brick and part of the railroad. And a pretty slick way to do it. Now, we need to blend this. However, obviously burnt grass would not be on top of the talus. So what I want to do is I want to use soil, or I want to use a little earth. I want to make these rocks look like they're coming out of dirt. So I'm going to take a little soil and I'm going to very lightly just sprinkle over that. And now it's going to try to cling to the top of that talus, which is not going to look quite so good. So again, so I don't dilute so much, I take just a little Scenic cement and just kind of give it a light spritz. Just kind of wash the soil off the top of that talus and wash it down in along the sides of the rock. So it really looks like that dirt's kind of in there and the rocks are trying to kind of peek and find their way out.
Let's do some field grass.
Okay.
I like field grass.
We'll keep switching kits on
I
here.
know. That's all right. We need the dry one for field grass.
Yep.
I think you have that over there in your container.
Yeah, good. Let me get some glue down here.
Okay, field grass is a natural hair product. Comes in 4 different colors from Woodland Scenics, and very, very easy to put on your layout. You don't need to drill any holes or anything difficult like that. All Miles has done is he's painted on a little bit of the Hobby Tack adhesive, and then he's going to take a small clump of the field grass, about the right size clump for whatever scale you're in, a distance around clump, diameter clump. There we go.
There's about an HO clump.
All right.
And all I do is just clip that off so it's nice and flat up on top. I'm going to grab a hold of that while it's nice and tight. And you saw me, I already put down a little bit of the Hobby Tack. So all I have to do is stick and cut. Stick, cut. Stick, cut.
Because the Hobby Tack is a very, very tacky adhesive, the field grass will stand up nicely. Now, if you want to, you can take the blade of an X-Acto or a point of a pen or something, and you can move it around a little bit if you want some of it to lie over and some of it to stand up. You can move it around a little bit. But the tackiness of the Hobby Tack is what makes it stand up without any real effort on your part. Now, you may want to mix some of the colors of field grass. Looks like your clumps have some living grasses and some dead grasses mixed in together the way they grow in real life. And you may want to mix some of the colors that Woodland Scenics makes. Why don't we try a little turf painting, Miles?
Turf painting?
All right.
Ooh, wow, you're going to get
Whoa, we're getting fancy here.
Okay.
Turf painting is an interesting technique that we've come up with for adding some extra color on late in the game. You may have gotten to this point and, yeah, that's pretty good, but maybe you really, really intended to get a little more color, or a little different color up here, or something just didn't quite get on there that you wanted.
Let me tip this up. I think you can see it a little bit better, maybe. Get it up this high enough? That's probably good enough.
Very easy technique for doing this is something we call turf painting. Now, you need to have your layout dry. You need to have everything dry before you do this. And he's using a dry paintbrush, and he's using the fine turf. And all he's doing is dipping the paintbrush in the dry turf and just daubing it on, just painting it on wherever you want it to add some extra color. Now, the really nice thing about this is you haven't sprayed any Scenic cement or any water or anything, so you can play with this. And if you put that on there and you decide you don't like it, it's gone.
You're awake now, right?
If you decide you do like it, then you can spritz it with the Scenic cement and you can fix it on there. But it's a very nice way to add a little extra color to maybe cover up an area. If something comes along and rubs some of your turf off, as sometimes happens in a layout, this would be a way to get some color back on, get some turf back on there without having to go to a lot of trouble to get it back on there.
If you like it, spray it over a little bit with the Scenic cement and fix it. It'll stay forever. And for those of you that want a little more reading, a little bedside reader on scenery materials, we have the scenery manual, and this is
160 pages.
160 pages of everything you ever wanted to know about scenery and then some. And I understand that we've sold out of these at the clinic the first time, but they are available over at the trade show, or will be at the end of the week anyway. We have a lot more of them. We just don't happen to have them with us here at the clinic. And believe me, you'll find it interesting reading on all kinds of tips and things that we gave you, both the fly specking and some of the other things. There's a lot more in the manual than what we could present in the time of the clinic.
Okay. We'd like to invite all of you to come visit us at our booth at the train show. We'll be over there on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we'll have lots of the Woodland Scenics items on display for you to take a look at. We'll have some things for sale over there. We'll be around to talk to you, answer any questions that you might have, and listen to any suggestions you have on products that you think should be produced by Woodland Scenics. And if anybody has questions, if you'd like to come up and take a look at all the things we've done today, we thank you very much.
Thank you.
In Session 1, you learned how some of the products found on the Terrain Center, shown here, are used to create the various contours, from flat land to mountains, that are found in nature. These products include plaster cloth, rock molds, pigments, talus, tunnel portals, culverts, retaining walls, and the scenery manual. In Session 2, you learned how to model the variety of colors, textures, and sizes of vegetation that surround us. The products used, found on the Landscape Center, include turf, foliage, lichen, field grass, ballast, tree kits, and landscape accessories. You saw how easy it is to use the Clump-Foliage and realistic tree kits found on the wall merchandiser. With these products, you can create natural-looking trees from just one to an entire forest. Your Woodland Scenics dealer is likely to have the museum-quality display model. Look for it. Any doubts you may have about what can be done with the Woodland Scenic system will disappear when you see the real thing.